Hello, and welcome to All About Billings. We are a show dedicated to discovering the people that make Billings a great place to work and live. We will interview local business people, entrepreneurs, artists, entertainers, and learn from them all about their successes, their failures, and their connection to Billings. I'm your host, Nancy Brook, broker and owner at Billings Best Real Estate. And today it is my pleasure to have as my guest Kendra Carter, who is the owner and also the head strength trainer, nutritionist. She does it all at Iron Moon Fitness and Training Center. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, so I have not had a chance to really get to know you, but it's been really fun to hear all about your journey in getting involved in strength. So why don't we start from the beginning? How in the world did you get involved with strength training?
So I kind of started my fitness journey in like 2019. I started working out regularly and kind of just got obsessed with fitness in general. But I was doing like a lot of like high intensity interval training and circuit training and stuff like that, and discovered I really liked lifting weights. And the little studio I was training at only had, like a 30-pound kettlebell, and like, very quickly, like kind of that started to feel easy. So I kind of graduated from there, and at that point I realized like I want to lift like really heavy stuff. So I started like at that point, just started building a garage gym for myself. And so I started off like with my own kettlebells, like sandbags and stuff like that, until I could afford my first barbell. And so then I bought, a weight set. And then at that point, I'm like, well, I'm just going to get into powerlifting. And I couldn't find a coach. I Googled like powerlifting, Billings, Montana, and like I wasn't really finding a whole lot. And so I just started teaching myself, for the most part.
So just watching YouTube videos,
yep, a lot
that
of YouTube
kind of
videos,
thing? Okay.
Finding other lifters on Instagram and stuff like that. So yeah, that kind of is what kicked off the strength training. And then after a little bit of time, I realized like, okay, I'm getting really strong. I'm pretty good at this. So I put myself through my first powerlifting meet in 2020. And did pretty well with that. I drove all the way up to Kalispell by myself, like didn't know anybody, and did this first meet by myself and did pretty well with it. So kept going from there. And then eventually, after training for a year or 2 years, my friends and other people kind of began to know me as like, like the fit girl, like the lifter, the muscle mommy. And so, friends would reach out, when they were interested in like lifting, like I had a gal reach out like, hey, would you maybe like help me, with my form and coach me through like a max test? Like she kind of wanted to test, where her lifts were at. And so she came over and like we did that. And then I realized like, this is really cool. Like, and that is what kind of inspired me to begin thinking about becoming a personal trainer. So then I got certified after that. And then it was just a matter of time before I got the bug to leave my previous career, and then went and started my own business.
So what was your previous career?
I was a tissue recovery specialist.
Oh, wow, very specialized.
Yes. So basically, if you've heard of like organ donation and organ procurement, so I worked on the tissue side of things. So that includes all the long bones in the body, muscle tendon attachment, and things like that. And so I was part of the team that would go and procure those from organ donors. So I always had like a knack for anatomy. So yeah, strength training and fitness kind of actually really went hand in hand with that, having pretty advanced knowledge of the human body, specifically the musculoskeletal system. So just kind of, I do get very nerdy about muscles. Like they're fascinating. So it's kinda
well, okay, so here's the thing that I get. So I like to power lift, but I remember I had a client who said, you're into powerlifting, that's kind of a peculiar sport for a woman, isn't it? And especially, I mean, I'm older than you, but especially an older woman. She's like, what prompted you to get into this powerlifting? So I'll ask you the same thing. Do people find it a little unusual?
A little bit, especially when they're like, well, how much do you lift? I'm like, well, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, wow. like that's crazy. I don't know. Like I always felt like strength for me, like once I started getting stronger and realizing like, okay, I can do these hard things, like that just started giving me so much more confidence, like everywhere in life. And just knowing like, okay, I am strong, I can handle some really tough stuff.
Right.
And just, you know, being able to, you know, now if I move, like, or I need to open a pickle jar, like I can do these things myself. I don't necessarily need, you know, anyone to help me. I'm strong enough to do it by myself. So, and you know, I tend to be pretty independent too, so that also kind of really went into it. And I liked the fact that powerlifting is an individual sport, so it's just you versus you, because it's not a team sport. So it's really kind of just proving to yourself that you can do that. So that was another thing that was really appealing about powerlifting.
Well, and they do have so many different age classes, weight groups, different equipment or lack of equipment. And so oftentimes there's nobody competing, at least for me, in my age group weight class with wraps. I mean, I've had one before, but typically it's very unusual. And I imagine you're younger, so you might have some from time to time.
Yeah, so now I just recently had a birthday, so I've aged out of submasters. Okay. So now I am like looking into masters now. So I just turned 40. But yeah, with strength sports and stuff like that, yeah, the class sizes definitely get smaller as you get older.
Well, and it's you against you.
Yes.
Because it's you against your last best total. At least that's how I look at it. I mean, it's fun to look at a record, see if you can beat it, that kind of thing, but it's really just beating your total.
Yeah, just trying to do, you know, that much better than the last time.
Right. Yeah. Well, I love what you're saying about, you know, finding your strength, because the other thing I've thought of, you know, so sometimes, you know, late at night you're trying to go to sleep and you sort of have random thoughts. One of the things I've thought of is like how it's like overcoming resistance just a little bit at a time. And if you think about life has so many things that drag us back and that we have to overcome. And so just learning that by the effort daily, weekly, incrementally, every time, just doing a little teeny bit more. And maybe it's not every day, but it's every week or every month. And then we've just become stronger and more accomplished.
Yes, yeah, I think it really creates a lot of resilience when you undertake strength training. Because also too, like as you've noted, like not every training session is gonna be great. Like you're gonna have some training sessions where everything feels way too heavy and just like, this feels not good and why isn't any of this going well? But you know, you do it anyways, and then you go back to the gym the next time and then like everything feels good again, and just, you know, it's not necessarily a linear path.
No.
So there's going to be, you know, some ups and downs, but over time, like, yeah, you do see, like, if you're putting in the work, you will progress. So.
Well, and there's even times when I've had like a month or two where things are pretty flat.
Yeah.
And it's really discouraging, but you just have to keep on working through. But that's life.
Yes.
I mean, haven't you had a time in work or in your personal life where, you know, things aren't necessarily going great? Maybe they're just kind of flat and you just have to keep on moving through.
Yeah, just keep pushing.
Well, and so when I was at the weightlifting competition a couple weeks ago, you were there coaching somebody. And so it looked like that was her first meet.
It was.
And so is that like something that is really special for you?
Yes, that was so cool. Like to coach her to her first meet, and she's actually been training with me for a year now, maybe a little over a year. So we've spent some time together, and at first she wasn't sure if she wanted to compete. She knew she was interested in powerlifting, and you know, like, no, I think you should try it. I think you should try it. And like now, after doing that, getting the first one underway, now she's already planning for next year. So, since it was her first meet too, like there was like all the emotions that were experienced, you know, from like, oh, I can't do this to like, woohoo, I can do this. And, you know, not every lift, you know, went the way that we wanted them to go necessarily. So then just taking that time to step back, you know, refocus, regroup, and then come back and then just like kill her other lifts. So yeah, it was a really good experience for her, and like a really great experience for me, because I got to help her through that, you know, and, you know, just coached her. And I've been wanting to coach athletes pretty much since I started. You know, I don't force everyone to compete, or, you know, no, it's not for everyone, but I enjoy being the person that's going to be like your coach, your cheerleader. Like I'll be screaming for you on the sidelines. So it was a great experience for both of us.
And it's such a, I think people wouldn't realize, and of course it's not for everybody, but it's such a supportive atmosphere.
It really is.
Like athletes cheer for each other, the crowd cheers for you.
Yes.
You know, you get to know their name. I mean, it's fun. Like,
yes.
And I think sometimes people think they have to have like just some really huge lift to be able to be successful at a powerlifting meet. But really, if you can lift a bar, you can sign up for the meet.
Absolutely.
I guess the bar and the collars. So it's not like you have to be lifting, extraordinary amounts of weight.
You don't have to like lift like 500, 800 pounds to be a power lifter. Yeah, it's what you could do.
Well, and there were at that particular meet a couple of older lifters too. There was one lady who she was benching and deadlifting. I think she was 80.
Yeah. She was one of the older gals that I'd seen compete, and that was so awesome. I love seeing older masters competitors. I mean, there are women like older than you and I that are like have double our totals probably, that are like, they exist. There's some really strong older folks out there.
Yes.
Which is super inspiring, because I'm aspiring to be that as I age. Like,
well, it is
chasing
fun.
records for a long time.
And I think the other thing that, I just want to point out too, because a lot of times people think you just naturally get less strong as you age.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are some things. There's some things working against you.
Yeah.
But I mean, I hit PRs year after year despite me getting older, and I'm an older person, and so it just tells me that you don't need to settle.
Exactly.
You don't need to settle for declining. You don't need to settle for, oh my, I better get a one-level house because I don't know if I'll be able to climb the stairs.
Yes.
Do what you can. Keep the stairs.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, if you're injured or something, that's different. But try your best to keep active,
and
to be strong.
I 100% agree with that, because realizing like, I want to maintain my mobility and dignity like as long as I possibly can, and those factors are within my control. So I'm going to try to do everything I can to maintain my strength and move well, just because I don't want to stop anytime soon. Like I've got plans and things I want to do. Like I feel like I haven't even peaked yet. So like, I'm going to keep going and keep training. And I think it's becoming more common now for people as they age to be more involved in fitness and say like our parents or grandparents.
Oh,
that
my
just
goodness,
was not
yes, no.
That not something that they considered. But now like knowing like, okay, like yes, there are factors like age going against you and like muscle loss, but if you're training and using that muscle, you're not going to be losing that muscle.
Right.
So it really is kind of use it or lose it. I mean, and if anyone can start lifting at any time and start increasing strength. So even if you have, experienced muscle loss or decrease in strength, like if you start training consistently, like you will see that go up.
Exactly. Well, I think the other thing that is pretty interesting to me, so when you're focused on a sport like powerlifting, you have 3 lifts, of course, and strong men, you have different sorts of lifts. But with that, you find out where your weaknesses are too. And so, which again is such a great analogy in life, because you have your strengths, but you have to shore up your weaknesses so you can get stronger overall. And I think sometimes people like just want to work on their strengths in life and in the gym. I mean, have you ever seen the guys that they only do the chest muscles, and so they go around looking like big on the top and skinny little legs?
They're skipping leg day. Yep. Yeah, there's infinite things to work on in training. So it's not just increasing, weight on the bar. It's improving your technique, like in range of motion and things like that. There's so many different ways that you can improve. So that's another thing that's really appealing to me about it. It's not, just something that gets boring and stale over time. Like you create new goals and things that you're working on, different training blocks where there's a focus on, maybe a different muscle group that might be lacking, and things like that. So there's kind of infinite ways to progress and keep things interesting.
And it keeps it fun.
Yep.
When you can do different things. So you got so inspired from the training, just your personal journey that you went and got certified as a trainer, opened a business, are coaching people. What was that like?
That was pretty wild. So I'm going into, I think it'll be year 3 in October, that I left my career and opened my business. So that was really just kind of like a huge leap of faith.
Yeah. Brave. That's very brave.
Huge, because I wasn't training and I didn't have any clients. You know, most people like will train part-time and like at least like get some clientele. So I just quit my job. And I was ready to leave at that point. I knew like, you know, and I'd had some savings saved up. I was like, you know, I'll be able to like float until I can get some clients and stuff. And so I just hit the ground running, and I feel like I haven't stopped. So I found a place to train, and started building a private studio, and that's kind of one of the main factors that people that work with me enjoy, because I do work with a lot of women and a lot of people that are complete newbies to the gym, and they have like a really big lack of confidence, and they're afraid of like being watched in the gym because they're struggling.
It can be intimidating,
with
even
absolutely.
though people for the most part are not like judging people
most people
at the
are
gym.
just kind of minding their own business, but I get how you're new at something and you're not familiar with the area or what you're doing. Like you're pretty self-conscious, and so having a private studio, though, a lot of people love that because they can learn, you know, in a private place in a controlled environment and like really have one-on-one. Which is great because I don't have to share equipment with anybody. We truly have, you know, the space to ourselves. So yeah, that's kind of how most people have come to me, because people would recommend like, oh, well, she has a private studio and da 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 da. So that, you know, most people really appreciate that about me. And then I've also expanded into remote training and coaching, and small group training as well.
So when you do remote training and coaching, so do you actually watch people when they're training, or is it more like you write out the programs and they send you videos?
Yeah, so I have a phone app. So I'll create someone's program and drop it in there, and so they can train wherever they want. So, you know, I have some people that train at home, and I build a program based on what equipment they have at home and want to use, or people that train at a gym. And so they'll open up my app and, you know, have their training program in there, and it literally tells you what to do. So you just have to enter, you know, how much weight you did, check it off, boom, and then go on to the next one. And then, you know, every once in a while, you know, if people are struggling with things, I'll have them come in. We'll do like a one-on-one for form checks and things like that if they are local, just because I want to make sure that people are lifting correctly, especially like my power lifters.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, if you're doing a machine, I mean, most people will get those right.
Yeah.
But if you're doing squats or deadlift or bench
lifts and things like that, I do want to do some form checks, and like whether that's coming in and doing a session with me, or, you know, filming their sets and sending it to me. So yeah, so it's a little bit of everything.
So I know you do more than just train power lifters. What other reasons would people come to you? So do they have like body composition goals? Do they want to lose weight? I mean, what sorts of things do people want to have a coach for?
So for the most part, most people come to me because they want to lose weight. So they want to lose fat. Some of them maybe want to gain muscle. And then there's others that just want to like learn and do some strength training. So it's kind of like a little bit of both. So yeah, there are people that come because they specifically want to strength train, and then others that, you know, have more body composition goals. So, and that's where the nutrition coaching comes into play, because that is a double-edged sword. You got to get your nutrition under wraps, and the training, like, both need to be pretty comprehensive if people want to succeed with those goals.
Isn't it true though? You're the coach. I just have noticed that if somebody's doing some kind of physical activity, and now they always say you can't outrun a bad diet, or you know, you can't outlift a bad diet, but there's something about just being physically active that just helps you be in the right frame of mind. And plus you're adding muscle, so your metabolism is probably going to go up, even if you didn't lose any weight.
Exactly.
So there's so many benefits from lifting, especially.
Yes, and I don't ever want to like feel like I'm a weight loss coach or a
Right,
transformation coach. You know, I don't have like drastic, you know, like this person lost like 80 pounds with me and look at them
6
now.
weeks, yeah.
That is not the kind of trainer that I am. Because for most people, like it's something like 1 in 10 people that undertake a weight loss program. Like, yeah, it's something like 1 in 10 will actually be successful with that. So most people don't have very good results because it takes so much consistency.
Right.
It does take, you know, consistent physical activity and monitoring what you're eating every day to an extent. So most people really struggle with that. You know, they'll you know, be good during the week, and then the weekend hits, and then, you know, then they're going out to eat and like having mimosas at brunch with their friends and like a night of drinking, and then it just kind of undoes all that progress. So a lot of people, it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and the progress, you know, is really, really long. So when people come to me, and absolutely I can help people lose weight, but I do want them to focus more on strength,
Yeah.
and at least muscle retention, if not muscle building. And if you focus on that, you'll see results with that far quicker than you will with weight loss. The weight loss will come eventually, but the primary focus is kind of get people to reframe their thoughts, you know, because they're so hung up on losing weight or like weighing a certain amount. Instead, like, why don't we chase PRs? And it's going to create a much healthier mindset revolving their training and nutrition. So I kind of have a little bit different angle than a lot of coaches do.
Well, and I love that because, you know, and like a lot of people are on the weight loss meds these days.
Yes.
Nothing against if somebody needs that, that's fine. The problem I have is when people lose weight so rapidly, they lose muscle along with the fat, and then they end up in a worse situation, and their metabolism is destroyed, and then they can't sustain it long term.
Yes.
Whatever diet you do or whatever lifestyle you have, you just want to make sure you enjoy it and that you can sustain it.
Yes.
So if, you know, if low carb is your thing, have at it.
Right.
If it's, you know, if you want to have a mixed diet and count your calories, that's fine. But you have to do something that I think long term you can like sustain.
Yes, it really is like, it's a lifestyle change.
Yes.
It becomes
It
a
has to be.
lifestyle. Yes. And a lot
Because
of people-
otherwise you'll just gain everything back and
Yes.
it'll be worse. If you lose all your muscle and then you get more weight on, you're going to have a slower metabolism.
Exactly. So yeah, it really is like changing that whole lifestyle. And if people haven't been training or paying attention, you know, specifically to what they're eating, that's really hard. Like, and that's the thing that I hear from most people, like, this is really hard. Like, yes, it really is. But, you know, if this is something that you want to be successful at, you're going to have to make some serious changes,
Right.
you know, revolving your physical activity and your nutrition. So
start with this.
yes, exactly.
Start with,
Yep.
let's get to the gym, let's focus on strength training.
Yeah,
And
get you in the habit of training 2,
Yes.
3, 4 times a week, you know, however many days they can make it to the gym or want to be there. You know, and schedule it like it's an appointment. A lot of people just think like, oh, well, I don't have time. Like you have to make the time.
You do.
You absolutely have to make the time, because most people do have time. You know, and if you look at it, you know, you got 18 hours of screen time like a week, and you know, sometimes more. So there's generally opportunities in most people's lives where you could carve out. You know, you can shift things around.
Right.
And it's just something that we have to think about, you know, as we're aging and, you know, towards our goals. Like, we have to make space in our life for that, because it does, you know, become your life.
Well, and I think, you know, for me, I have a real estate business and I get pretty busy during the day, and sometimes I can in the evening. So I get up between 4 and 5 and hit the gym. And if somebody's calling me at 6 a.m., that's a little inappropriate.
Yeah.
So it's okay if I don't answer.
Right.
But that's what I've had to do
Yeah.
to make it work. Now, in the old days when I had a job, I'd maybe work out at lunchtime or I'd work out after work because I had, you know, time then.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. You just have to figure out what can you do consistently.
Yeah, even if it's only 2 days a week. I mean, 2 days a
Right.
week is still more than, you know, if you've gone from doing nothing.
Right.
Like, that's still 2 more days a week that you are prioritizing your physical activity.
Right.
So,
Well, and the other thing is, like, I mean, my daughter used to do sports, so I wasn't really doing, I was doing more like, kind of more like circuit training or doing some cardio stuff. But what I would do is when my daughter was doing her sports, when she was at her thing, I would go work out. So I can go run around, drop her off, and then I'll be back in an hour.
Yeah.
And there you go, you know. So,
Yeah.
so you just have to figure out, where do you find those pockets of time? Because nobody's life is easy.
No.
I mean, most of us aren't like
Yeah, most of
independently
us
wealthy.
are really busy. Most of us have
we don't
better
have
things
trust
to do.
funds. And
Yeah, I know.
just sit at home and work out
Yeah,
whatever
like,
we want.
not everyone has like a home gym, you know. I think, you know, like it is like it's a task to have to find the time to get out and go to the gym and do your training.
Right.
But
And so what do you find helps people start shifting that mindset? Because it's not easy.
yeah, for a lot of people, working one-on-one with a trainer.
Okay.
Because then you have that accountability. You have that appointment.
Right.
You need to show up.
Right.
So people are maybe a little less likely to, you know, skip out on that when they do have an actual appointment.
Right.
I have experienced my fair share of cancellations, however, because things will always come up. People are people. But yeah, or otherwise, just schedule it on your calendar like it's an appointment. Treat it like a doctor's appointment, because it really it's for your health. Like, this is your preventative health care. That's what fitness is. So I think, yeah, people would literally look at their calendar, schedule it out, so then you know, and you got time for that, and just put it in there.
And I swear resistance training is the fountain of youth. Because if you look at people as they get older, and you know, I'm talking 70s, 80s, 90s if you're around, a lot of people will have an injury from falling. And if you think about it, if you have more muscle, chances are you can catch yourself, or you'll rebalance yourself. You won't crash and break a hip, break a knee, whatever people are doing to injure themselves. And that's where it comes in to play. It's not just looking good, which all of us want to look good, but it's like being able to sustain yourself as you get older.
Absolutely.
Being independent.
Yes, and especially for women, resistance training, weight training is so important, because it's going to help you retain your bone density and can even bring it back. Because your bones demineralize as you get older, and you know, some people are more at risk for osteoporosis. Weight training can improve that or reverse that. So weight training and weight-bearing exercises are extremely important for women.
Yeah. Well, and so if somebody wants to get a hold of you and find out more about your services, what would be the best way? I know you have a website, and you probably have a phone number too.
Yes. So I do have a website, www.ironmoonfit.com. People can also find me on Facebook. I do have a Facebook page, Iron Moon Fitness and Coaching, or they could shoot me a text or call me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And all the numbers and everything's on Facebook.
Yep.
or
Everything
your website.
is on my website.
Wow. Well, you are such an inspiration.
Thank you.
I just really admire how you just took that big risk and jumped in, quit your job, took on a whole new career because you're passionate about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I am pretty passionate about it.
Well, and just to see the smile on your client's face at that meet,
yes,
it did really warm my spirit. You know, it just was like, wow, she really feels like she accomplished something by being here, and you could tell. And it was just how she carried herself.
Yes, and it was a
and
great
the smile
feeling
on her face.
Great feeling to know that, like, I helped her get there.
Yes.
You know, so that it was our team effort.
Well, thanks again for joining us, and everybody, thank you for watching our show today, and we hope to see you next time on All About Billings.